Conor did a good job, but I think the only problem with Conor, if I was to give him some advice, is he needs to become a better competitor than he is a fighter. What do I mean by that? A competitor is all about winning. A competitor is somebody that understands how to finish the race, how to finish those 5 rounds, because you're not gonna be able to knock everybody out, even though you do say it. Kind of like the same way he fought Nate Diaz. Anyways, if he was to become a better competitor than he is, because he is a fighter, but he should be a better competitor. That's going to be the difference in his fight. So it's a change of philosophy. It's just finding a way to win.
Henry Cejudo is widely recognized as the king of cringe, but in this video, I would have to say he's the king of truth, because everything he's saying about what Conor needs to do to get back on top is 100% true. And after the trilogy between Conor and Dustin this past weekend, many people are questioning if Conor will ever make it back to the top. If he'll ever make it back to being the fighter he was. If he'll ever make it back to being Conor the notorious McGregor. The one who took the fight world by storm. The one who gave people hope. The one who made millions look up to him. And the one who now has millions questioning him. Questioning his ability. Questioning his integrity to himself. Questioning his work ethic. Questioning if he will ever return to the form that he was. And the truth is, no one will ever know for sure. Not even Conor. Only time will tell. Basically, in a nutshell, what Henry Cejudo is telling Conor is that Conor needs to focus on the long game. He needs to get back to winning fights. He needs to cultivate the foundations of what it means to be a successful fighter. A successful fighter isn't necessarily someone who just knocks people out. It's not someone who just has these highlight reel finishes. It's someone who has the ability to adapt. It's someone who has the ability to change and adjust as the fight goes on. It's someone who has the ability to switch between game plans, who doesn't get so stuck in his ego or trying to prove a point to the public, so much to the point that it begins to fall to a detriment to his own game plan and lead to him putting himself in dangerous situations and less favorable situations in a fight that cause him to lose, as we saw with the first Dustin Poirier fight, and even in the second Dustin Poirier fight, when he made the less favorable decision to take Dustin to the ground. You see, the beauty in what Henry is telling Conor is that you have to focus on becoming a fighter who has a solid base to fall back on when your big left hand doesn't work, when you don't get that flash knockout, when you don't TKO or KO your opponent in the first round. Having foundations to fall back on, having fundamentals to fall back on. It seems as though Conor has kind of moved away from those fundamentals and has really kind of primed his game around landing that big knockout shot, as we've seen in recent fights. He's telling Conor that Conor needs to get back to what it truly means to be a fighter, a well-rounded fighter who can adjust and who has the skill sets to adjust as the fight goes on, who has his cardio down, his movement down, his mind down, who has everything dialed in to give him the highest probability of winning throughout the fight. I believe Conor's biggest problem right now is not necessarily his skill set. It's not that he isn't physically capable. It's his mindset. He's so reliant on the knockout that he's become predictable. When he doesn't get the big knockout, he starts lunging in. He starts becoming desperate for it. He starts to become less intelligent defensively. He starts to make stupid mistakes. He needs to get his mind right. He needs to stop looking at this as if it's a 100-meter dash and start looking at it like it's a marathon, right? Like he did in the rematch with Nate Diaz. He needs to come back with a fresh set of eyes, and that might require getting a new coach. That might require getting new looks in your camp. He also needs to build upon his skill set. He can't just rely on that left hand. He needs to throw more jabs. He needs to set things up more. He needs to be able to strike offensively with volume. He needs to expand upon what he knows if he truly wants to come back. And that's going to require humility, and I don't know if Conor has that. Only time will truly tell. But I do like Henry Cejudo's advice, and I do agree with it. if he wants to come back, he has to become a better competitor. He cannot rely on just being a knockout artist. The game keeps evolving. The game keeps growing month by month. And if you're not growing with it, it doesn't matter if you stood on top of the highest mountain once upon a time. You will fall and crumble if you do not evolve. And unfortunately for Conor, in a very big way, he has fallen. Now, I do believe he could make it back up to the top of that mountain. But is he willing to humble himself? Is he willing to look at the game with a fresh set of eyes, to not let his old ego and his old ways get in his new path? Is he willing to do that? Well, only time will tell. This is The Art of Violence. Thank you for listening, and until next time.